Hello friends, welcome back to Everyday Crystal Magic Classroom series. And in this particular playlist, we're talking about sacred geometry. So you already saw probably the math tutorial. In this one, we will talk about the Platonic solids. I know you probably are thinking, well, why she's not studying with the seed of life and the fruit of life and those nice circles or spheres. Well, I don't have a clear answer to that. I just felt that this should be next, and probably because for those of you who saw already the math tutorial, it's going to be an easier transition to understand the Platonic solids before we get into the seed of life, fruit of life, Metatrons cube, flower of life sequence. That is in my website anyways. So a solid, that's the first thing that we need to understand. What is a solid? A solid is when you take that plane figure that we talk about in the math tutorial and you add another dimension, which is depth, like tangible things, like this is a solid. Though what you see in a video is a plain image because you cannot sense or you cannot tell depth from there. A solid has width, height, and depth. So Platonic solids, there are 5, and we'll see why there are 5. So let's get to it. Hi. So we are here to start the 5 Platonic solids. For these, I will ask you to engage your imagination and also to refer back to the math tutorial, the one about plane geometry, because those concepts we're going to use them here. So the first exercise is imagine a sphere this time, not a circle, something solid, and imagine that you have to fit inside that solid another solid figure, but we have some constraints, and those are you can only use lines of the same length to build the figures that are going to fit in here. The other is that all those lines must touch the sphere. And when I said all those lines, is the angle, that vertex where two lines meet. So that will leave you, if you're doing this exercise, with triangles and squares. And there are only 5 perfect solids that meet this criteria, and those are what we call the 5 Platonic solids. So let's start with the first one, the tetrahedron, going back to the sacred geometry review, or the first tutorial. This figure is made of 4 equilateral triangles. Equilateral triangles, all sides are the same. And please do not confuse this with the top of the obelisk figure, which is the pyramid made on a square base and then triangles. This represents the element of fire and is associated to the solar plexus, and that's how you can use the magic of the Platonic solids in your sacred geometry practice. And no matter how it is rotated, and you will see if you do the experiment with a solid figure, it always points to the sky. The next one is the cube. A cube is a box. It's made of squares, 6 squares if you want to draw them in paper and put it together. It's a square, and in the square all the angles, and in the solid all the angles are 90 degrees, the right angle. It represents earth, and that's why it's associated to the root chakra. And if you were to associate a mantra to it, think of laying the foundation. Let's look at the next one. Octahedron. And in this you start seeing, but this looks like the 4-side pyramid with the square base. Yes, it does. The center of the figure is a square. And if you think one of those points and go up to measure the height, that is a 90-degree angle. So these 8 faces are equal and the angles are at 90 degrees. Represents air. It also represents as above, so below. Look at how it's pointing. It's a symbol of universal and unconditional love. Now let's look at the next one, the icosahedron. And here we see that is formed by 20 equilateral triangles, and that is the figure that I have here. I think I got this in Walmart or Target. So you can see that each one of these lines, well, you cannot see because you cannot measure, but I did. They are equal, and each one of these points, as you see in the rotation, touches the sphere. It represents water and is associated to the sacral chakra. That's why it supports the creative process. And created as in reproduction, as in all your creative expressions. And is also connected to fertility and reproduction. The last one, I said this was going to be easy, the dodecahedron. And this figure is formed by 12 pentagons. And now you remember that I said that only triangles and squares can make a Platonic solid? Let's look at this. And I put this figure on pen and paper on purpose so you can do the same exercise. If you take a circle, and now we're talking a plane because it's what you can draw on pen and paper, and you take 72 degrees apart from the center, which is what we see here. This is the center of the circle. This angle is 72 degrees, and you start connecting these lines, 72 degrees apart. You will get a triangle, and you can see that the pentagon is made of 5 triangles. So that was it. Okay, moving on with the dodecahedron. It represents either the 5th element or the outer space or the atmosphere where communication propagates. It's associated with the 3rd eye and upper chakras, and it represents consciousness and ascension. And the 5 Platonic solids. Easy enough. If you feel that this tutorial can help somebody else, don't forget to like and share, and also subscribe. Check the description box below for more information about crystal grid tutorials and books and some other tools you can use. And as always, don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.